Hello dear friends, I'm Samuel Moore and welcome to my Study with Samuel Flamenco Guitar series. This series of lessons aims to make flamenco guitar more accessible for those who wish to refine their skills. Over the years, I've noticed one specific issue that many students of flamenco struggle with. Whether they're playing solo or accompanying, many find it hard to vary their compás playing in the context of specific palos. So, what do I mean by that? Well, generally speaking, I find students are very confident when playing falsettas, melodic passages. But when they have to play more chord-based ideas in between their falsettas, they often fall into the trap of looping round and around the same idea with little or no variation. Sound familiar? Well, if so, my Study with Samuel Flamenco Guitar series may be exactly what you're looking for. During these lessons, we will look at different flamenco palos, deconstruct their basic compás, and find ways you can vary your compás playing. Whether your ambition is to perform solo or learn how to accompany, this series of lessons aims to empower you to become a more rounded flamenco musician. So today, I'd like to talk about the flamenco palo Soleá. Soleá is a slow-tempo flamenco form. It has 12 beats in its cycle with accents on 3, 6, 8, 10 and 12. In other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. In terms of its key, Soleá can be played in many different keys, but most commonly it's played in the key of E phrygian. So your basic chords when playing compás are E major and F Lydian. Don't let that word confuse you. It's basically an F chord, but without the bar. So you have the B and the E open at the top, and it gives you that lovely open sound. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the purpose of these lessons is not to teach you flamenco falsettas or technique, or even look at the structure of the whole palo Soleá. We're going to specifically look at how the main compás ideas work. In other words, the main chord progression you keep coming back to again and again when you're playing Soleá. What I'd like to do is establish a core idea, one that's very simple and will work as a loop. And from there we can look at different variations you can build on it. By doing this, you'll become a more rounded flamenco musician by knowing how to move around this basic structure. So let's begin with establishing our core idea. I'll demonstrate and then we'll learn it. Here goes. So that's the basic idea I want us to work with to start with. So before we start looking at any complex variations, let's just learn that basic idea. We'll break it down into 3 beat chunks: beats 1, 2 and 3, 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So let's start with beats 1, 2 and 3. All that we're really doing here is we're using beats 1 and 2 as a way of moving from the tonic chord, the E, and landing on F on beat 3. So let's separate the hands to begin with. In terms of the chords, on beats 1 and 2, you're on the chord E. And then you move to F on beat 3. Now in terms of the other hand, this one, we're really just starting on beats 1 and 2 with a downstroke with these 2 fingers. So we're basically going 1, 2. Then when we move to the F on beat 3, we're going to do a downward strum with the thumb. So put that all together and you get this. 1, 2, 3. Without me saying it as I play it. So that's beats 1, 2 and 3. Let's now move on to beats 4, 5 and 6. So at this point we're still on the F chord. And all we're going to do with the left hand is keep it where it is. With the right hand, however, on beat 4 you're going to do a tap. And then with the index finger on the and of 4 you're going to come up. So it's 4 and. Then on 5 and you're going to go down and up with the index as well. So all together so far it's tap, up, down, up, and then on beat 6 another downstroke with the index finger. So all together with that chord it's 4 and 5 and 6. Let's now go back to the start, beats 1, 2, 3 and then add 4, 5, 6. So what we end up with is this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's move on to beats 7, 8, 9. Now, beats 7, 8 and 9 are very important in Soleá because they're your way of getting back to your tonic chord as we land on E again as soon as we hit beat 10. And there are many different ways we can use 7, 8, 9, 10 to get back to that tonic chord as we land on 10. Most commonly, we can use chords to get there. And I'm going to show you a really classic 7, 8, 9 phrase. We only need 3 chords. G major 7, then the E major but a half bar, so, sorry, not half bar, a half chord, so not the full E chord, but missing out the first 2 notes, so you got that. We then move back to the F7 chord. So that's all that's happening with the left hand. We're just going 7, 8, 9. In terms of the right hand, we're doing something a bit more interesting. So we're playing for each chord from the D string, downwards roll with the thumb, and then catch with the index finger the E. And we do that on every chord. So it's basically 7 and 8 and 9 and. Putting it all together, 7 and 8 and 9 and. So let's now go from right at the top all the way through to beat 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll now do it without me saying the numbers. So we've now got to the final 3 beats, 10, 11, 12. Now, when we play 10, 11, 12, we land back on the E chord and we stay on E for the whole 10, 11, 12 section. All that's happening here is we're using a mixture of rest strokes with the thumb and free strokes with the index finger. So we start by playing the low E string with the thumb, rest stroke. Then the high E, index finger, free stroke. We then move to the D string, which is playing the note E with the thumb, and we come down across the strings. So you're basically playing the E, the G sharp, and the B. Now, that's all we've got so far. 10 and 11 and then on 12, we do a downstroke with the thumb across the B and the E. And also combine that with a tap. So you go, so altogether it's 10 and 11 and 12. So let's now put that together with everything we've learnt so far. All we basically have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this establishes a really core idea that we can later build on. For now, however, a really great exercise, just loop that basic idea. I'm going to play it 4 times in a row. feel free to pause the video at any point and join in with me. So here we go, and I'll do it without counting out loud. So that's the basic idea we're going to work with today. Now, although that's a really good, solid way of playing Soleá Compás, if you were to repeat that quite a lot of times, it's going to get a little bit repetitive very quickly. Whenever I'm approaching different flamenco forms and thinking how can I vary my compás playing, I always like to deconstruct the different sections and work out different things I can do in each one of them. So let's do this with this classic passage, and we're going to start in reverse order. So when we learnt it, we went 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. As we work out embellishments, we're going to start with the last bit, 10, 11, 12. So the classic idea I first taught you works very effectively. But let's say you want to make this a bit more flamenco. A really nice way of playing this is to add in the phrygian note. In other words, instead of having just an E chord, we put the F with the pinky in the voicing, thus giving you a much more flamenco sound. Now, in terms of what we're going to do to make this embellishment work, we're going to start as we do normally. Thumb doing the rest stroke, index finger on the and, doing a free stroke. So 10 and. But then instead of playing just straight quavers, we're going to play semi-quavers, and we're going to play the E, then hammer on with the pinky onto the F, and then come down. So it's basically, I'll do it one more time. So you put that with the first part, it's 10 and 11 and. And on 12, we just go down with the thumb and tap at the same time. So we get on 12. Put it all together, 10 and 11 and 12. It's a very simple variation, but already it sounds really, really beautiful. So those are your two main ideas. The one I originally taught you, and your variation. There are many other variations we could look at on 10, 11, 12, but for now let's leave it there, keep it simple. Let's now look at beats 7, 8, 9. So the original idea we established here was a basic set of chords, this. Now, there are many different ways we can embellish this, but I'd like to start by looking at basic ways of reharmonizing it. Reharmonization is basically a fancy word for changing the chords. And what we had originally was this chord, F, moving to E, then moving back to the F. What we're going to do is we're going to take that F voicing, this one here, but we're going to slide it up 2 frets. So it becomes a G. And all we're going to do is exactly the same pattern with this hand, but move the chord back a semitone each time we play it. So it basically goes 7 and, then back, 8 and, then back again, 9 and that will cadence you beautifully back for beat 10 on the E. So that's the basic idea. Or at the end, you can alternately go. So very quickly we've established something that means that you can roll it out in many different ways and make it sound good. With that in mind, let's reharmonize the chords one more time. So, instead of playing F, E, F, let's try to get more inner movement in the chord. So we start as normal with F, then we'll move to E, like we did in the first idea. But then instead of moving back to F, we're going to swap these two fingers over. So this finger is going to move down one string. So it's now playing A. This finger is going to move up one string, so it's now playing D sharp. And this gives you this lovely diminished sound. And all you're going to do is strum that basic chord, and then with the third finger, hammer on to F. So what it gives you is 9 and, ready to cadence you back to beats 10, 11 and 12. If I play that together, so hopefully what you're seeing from this is how if you take a very simple concept, you can very quickly get lots of variations based on that. So far, we've had our original idea, then we have our other 7, 8, 9 idea, and we also have this one. All very simple. Now, so far you've probably noticed we've primarily looked at chordal ideas, different ways of changing the chords to make this part of the Compás more interesting. You can also do this with melody, play a more melodic idea. And there are many ways you can do this, but today I'm just going to show you a very simple one. All you're going to do is play a melodic passage where we rest stroke with the thumb on the low string, and then we're going to hammer on from E to F, from F to F sharp, and then F sharp to G. So basically this. Okay, and it's all semiquavers, so that's all 7. Okay, then repeat the same idea on the next string down. Then the same idea on the next string down. And this gives you this lovely phrase, 7, then 8, then 9. And that cadences you back to 10. In other words, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So hopefully you're seeing that with just a few little adjustments, you can really make 7, 8, 9 a really colourful, exciting idea when playing Compás. So having now looked at 10, 11, 12 and 7, 8, 9, let's move back to 4, 5, 6. What we were doing previously on 4, 5, 6 is staying on the F chord and just going tap, up, down with the index finger. Now, the main idea that we can use here is changing the chord. So imagine you've just played 1, 2, 3. You've gone 1, 2, 3. Well, normally here you would simply stay on the chord and go 4, 5, 6. Alternately, you could land on F as normal on 3, 1, 2, 3, and then move back as you tap to E, and then just do the same hand pattern, up, down, up, down. In other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, it's only a very simple variation, but it gives you different colours to draw upon when playing Compás. So finally, we've got to the first 3 beats again. 1, 2, 3. Let's look at different ways we can vary this. So I'd like to begin just by talking about some really simple ideas. Previously, what we've done is we've just gone down, down, and then thumb on the G chord. 1, 2, 3. A really simple thing you can do is change the chord on chord 2. Instead of staying on the E chord, we're going to move to E7. So you basically just lift out the third finger, so you now have that D open, rather than the E in its place. So all you're going to do is go 1, 2, 3. So nothing's changed with your right hand. All that's changed is the chords in the left. You've just gone 1, 2, 3. So very simple so far. Alternately, rather than playing the second chord, you could just lift off. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, you could play 1, 2, 3. So just lifting off can also sound really effective. Another really good idea is to reharmonize the chords even further. So instead of playing 1, 2, 3, you could change the chords to A minor, G, voiced like this, and then landing on F on beat 3. In other words, 1, 2, 3. It's a really nice one to cadence onto that F. Now, what else could we do? Well, we've now looked at different ways we can reharmonize the opening chords. Let's look at ways we can change the rhythm. So a really nice one is, instead of playing a chord on beat 1, we just do a tap. And then we play downstroke with the 2 fingers on the and of 1. So 1 and then 2, strike again. 1 and 2, and then downstroke as normal on 3. You can apply that to almost any of the chord progressions I've already shown you. For example, 1 and 2, 3. Or 1 and 2, 3. Both will work really well. It's a simple way to vary your Compás. Another really good idea is to think about beat 3 in a more interesting way. So far all we've really done is strum with the thumb on beat 3. An alternative idea is we could use that lovely technique where we basically go down with the index finger, up with the thumb, down with the index finger again, and then up with the thumb. So basically you get this. 1, 2, 3, 1. And that starts on the and of beat 2. So you're basically going 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay? And a lot of that movement is controlled by the wrist. As I've mentioned before, the purpose of this video is not to look at technique. It's really to look at language with you. But we can look at this technique in another lesson at some point if you're interested in it. So, like I said, that basic idea will work really well. And then you can just carry on as normal. So what I've tried to equip you with here are loads of different variations on all the different parts of the Soleá Compás. So that when you're playing this, you don't just have to loop round the same idea again and again, like we did at the start. You could start to vary your Compás a lot more, and thus sound like a more rounded flamenco musician. To conclude, let me quickly demonstrate what I mean. So here we go. Well, my dear friends, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. If you enjoyed today's lesson, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. There'll be more videos coming soon. If you'd like to study with me on a more one-to-one basis, you can book Skype and Zoom lessons via my website. A link is in the description below. Until we next see each other, you stay safe, and as always, thank you for watching.